I'm noticing that a number of offers have been coming in incomplete. This is Ron Wojciechowski for the Black Hole of Real Estate. And there is a growing concern, at least from my perspective, of offers that are being presented that are missing key elements. Now, in Florida, there's maybe a dozen or so blanks that we fill in because the rest of the contract is taken care of by, the Florida Association of Realtors and the Bar Association. They're the most common one. They call it FAR and BAR because of the initials. So those acronym, as is contract, FAR, BAR. It's just put together where the agents can fill in the blanks. So if you're missing blanks, or you're checking them off wrong, or just not even checking a box or filling in a blank and just leaving it empty, it leaves room for questions. And if you're not putting proof of funds into the offer, that could be an issue. I do notice that the front page will mention if it's going to be like there's escrow and what's the loan size and what's the cash to close. And then on the next page, it's talking about if it's financed, what type of finance? Is it conventional or FHA or VA or something different? And so when we're haphazardly just putting in a price in the offer price and then putting like 100% or some percent in the financing and the cash to close, blank. See, the seller doesn't know if it's 100% finance, which might be more risky to them. Maybe they forget to write in seller concessions, or if it's FHA or VA, there's additional riders that are needed that involve repair costs and appraisal values. When we cross this bridge of the next page says conventional loan, but 100% finance, for instance, so unless it's some new loan, it's not correct. And that could be trivial for some agents, like, oh, we're just trying to get the offer really quick. The problem is it's not actionable. The seller really can't sign this. They've got to make changes. And you have a lot of back and forth of change this and change that. And I'll be honest with you, I've seen this in my career, that deals that should happen don't happen because it's not written up properly. It's been passed back and forth too many times. There's been multiple counter offers. And all of a sudden, everybody feels like they need to win part of the negotiation. It really has never been a negotiation. It's just not a complete offer the way that it's written. So if you're an agent, let's do our homework and let's get all the documents together, all the seller's disclosures, the proof of funds, anything that is important to the buyer and the seller and necessary for a completed contract to go through your compliance departments. What if we just got that all done up front? And if we were writing clean offers, not all it really becomes is, can we agree on the closing date for inspections, acknowledge when and how the buyer is going to get the money, if it's cash or if it's finance, how much they're putting down, any riders, or make sure the seller is providing documents to the buyer for all the disclosures, anything might be wrong with it, and the buyer signing it, acknowledging that they read it. These are all things that if they're in place, it really becomes a matter of how many days for inspections, what's the closing date, what's the price. You've only got a few key metrics if everything else is in place, and that makes for an ease of doing business. Now, I'm not saying that it's the only way to do it, but I do know this. If all those things are in place, the rest of it, it's going to be relatively easy and a better experience for the buyer and the seller, and quite possibly the agents and everybody else involved. So if you're in a rush, whether you're a buyer or an agent, to get an offer in there, you can actually take a lot more time, days and days and days of back and forth, as opposed to just taking a little more time up front. You might be able to get it done the same day. If you got questions about this, drop us a line. You know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. This is Ron Wojciechowski for the Black Hole of Real Estate.